Hey folks, John with Complete Technology Solutions, your friend in the computer business. Guys, I told you these were coming back to back. So, do you remember when we did the video on the upgrade on the TR50, which by the way, has always been one of my favorite weapons. But as you'll recall, I told you that without the HDP50 power kit, or the power kit that had to be installed there, that when you would fire the first round on that revolver, it would be really hard, but it would just go and blow out all the CO2. Well, I think we have a solution. Let's test it out. Here we go. You know, guys, the biggest issue I always had with doing the power kit upgrades is, aside from the little pin being a tiny bit smaller than the other one, most of your power was actually being gained by removing that valve blockage and then inserting that little CO2 compressor whole thing up in the canister there. Well, the problem with that is also you're still not getting full pressure. So what would happen is, if you didn't insert that small ring in the bottom into the cylinder, what would happen is that all the CO2 would flow into the chamber. On the HDP50, it doesn't seem to matter. It seems to catch in each time real well. But for some reason on the TR50, it would always just blow out all the CO2 after the first shot. So the issue was, too much CO2 was getting up into the chamber and building up pressure before the valve could shut between each shot. Well, Home Defense 24 came up with a solution for this, and it's called the Extreme Pin. Now let me show you guys this thing. I'm going to pop this thing open. I have not even looked at this, guys, so we're going to see what we get in here. All right, homedefense24.com. Guys, this is a great website. They have all kinds of different mods and upgrades for your HDP50s and TR50s and all of them. Every one of the Umarex weapons, they've got all their stuff on there. They are overseas, so it is a little expensive to get it over here, but you know, it's going to be worth it. Now, I am looking for a distributor for this stuff. Once I have them, I'll be able to have them for you guys at a obviously discount rate, but I'll let you know. So this is the actual pin that we are talking about. Now, if we look on this TR50, and by the way, the fact that this is sitting over here ought to let you guys know what we're about to be doing on this thing. So somebody had mentioned in the last video where we did that TR50 upgrade, I'll drop a link up here for you, or over there, or somewhere, there'll be a link up there, that the camera, and you guys know about my epic fight with Stumpy here, was kind of being covered up because I had to hold everything down. So what we're going to do in this video, guys, is we're going to install that pin for sure, and I'll show you where it actually goes. If you look inside your pressure chamber there, do you see that little pin at the bottom? Well, what that pin is a much fatter and longer version of this one. Are you seeing where we're going with this? This pin knocks a gigantic hole in the C02 cartridge and allows all the CO2 to flow in there. This pin knocks a much smaller hole, thereby constricting the flow of CO2 and allowing the cylinder to catch up as it's pumping it in. Now, this could have two effects, and as you know, this works on all of the T4E line. So it works on the shotguns, it works on the 68, it works on the HDP50, and certainly it works on the TR50. This could solve a lot of problems. This might give us more shots out of the HDP50. I don't know yet. We'll find out. And this is the one I really want to solve, guys, because this is a great weapon when it's fully powered. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. Oh, and look, I got some gummy bears too. Gotta love the Haribos, man. We might be munching those in a minute. All right, so let me clear off the workstation here, guys. I'm going to reposition everything, all right? We're going to aim this camera down. We're going to do an upgrade on this TR50 right now, and we're going to do it together. So hopefully you guys will at least be able to see the video a little bit closer. Here we go. All right, guys, so as you can see, we've got our TR50 all lined up here. We pulled out our magazine. You're going to pull out 15 screws. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. All right? I'm going to go ahead and pull out these screws, and we'll be right back with you. All right, guys, so as you can see, we've got all of our screws loose there. One suggestion I'm going to tell you is you're going to leave those screws in place, even once you pull this cap off, because all the screws are a tiny bit different when it comes to size. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to lift up on the side, and you're just going to take this apart at the seam, and it should come apart very, very easily, guys, so you don't have to force anything, assuming you have your screws all the way out. And if any of them are not totally loose, just kind of loosen them up as you go. There you go. See how easy that just came right off? All right. And then the bottom, you're going to want to watch this spring right here. Lift it up. There you go. And you can remove your little pin to hold the cylinder. All right, set that aside. Okay, now, this spring will come flying off as soon as you lift it beyond this little thing right here. It's holding it on place. So you want to lift that up and then hold that spring as you lift it, or it will take off. Now, the whole mechanism is what we're after right here. We're going to get into this cylinder, but to do it, we got to lift the mechanism out. So just lift the whole thing up and out of the weapon. And you guys don't have to worry too much. This thing is very, very solid. So just lift up all around it, nice and evenly, and it will come completely out of the casing. All right, then you lay your casing aside. Now, guys, I know that last time we did this, it got a little bit complicated inside this actual case. I'm going to try to keep the video nice and concise and close up, so bear with me on that. And I know we're still dealing with crap Stumpy number 45, and I'm hoping with Christmas coming, there will be a better Stumpy, and who knows, maybe that becomes Stumpy and I end up with a 4K camera. Who knows? We'll see. But all right, so now at this point, you can go ahead and remove the barrel. All right, set the barrel aside. Okay, you're going to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different screws, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and remove those screws. Be right back with you. One correction, there's only 7 screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right here. There's your 7th one. Leave them in place also if you can, guys. It'll make your life a whole lot easier. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the top half from the bottom half on this casing. The only thing holding this entire thing together is a pin that is seated into this aluminum housing right here. So what you want to do is you want to use a screwdriver or other small object to get between the seam and gently, guys, gently pry up on the seam and work your way around the gun, okay? Just like that. Very, very gently. And I'm hoping that Stumpy's getting a view of this. I'm looking at it, and it looks like you're getting a pretty good view. So, all right, so slowly. See how I'm doing that? I'm going back and forth with the pressure, and as you guys can see, it's coming up. See that? All right, so that's what we're shooting for. So slowly you want to remove that. And by the way, did you see that spring just pop off right there? This is what I was talking about with being very, very careful when disassembling this weapon. And this is exactly why it just blew springs everywhere. So, as you can see, this is what happens if you get just a little bit froggy and you tap that when you pull it out. So I'm kind of glad it's happening now so you guys can see where we're going with this, okay? So I am probably going to go ahead and just reassemble this now, guys, just because there's no reason not to. It's one less thing we'll have to do on the other side, so I may as well go ahead and do it now. Be right back. Okay, guys, so if you had the dynamite happen here, and you guys can see the little pin fell in, and, you know, this will happen from time to time. Now, you've got to be very careful. The HDP50 is a lot easier to disassemble, but if this should actually happen to you, all right, you want to take this piece right here, and in this factor, you'll see you've got a little spring that sits right on top of the spring. Now, I'm going to show you that as closely as I can, all right, so that your long arm is underneath that hole, all right? The concept then is you're going to take this spring, this little hook, and you're going to want to bend it. Now, you see how that spring goes up in that notch? That's what you want. Now, at this point, this is going to sit down. Put the post there where it came out. See the post? This is going to sit down on that post and go all the way down. So you want to go nice and slow and steady here, guys. I know this is nerve-wracking, and trust me, when you're doing it, it won't get any better. But as you can see now, it's all spring-loaded like it should be. See how that's working? Okay, now this is the hard part, guys. This spring is a pain in the butt. It's got to go right in there, and it's highly, highly sprung. So you want to pull this back. As you can see, I'm going to set that in there. You can see how far you've got to compress that. It's got to compress a long, long way. What I try to do is go in from the back like this, and then keep your finger over it, because if that gets away, that thing will take off like a bullet. And think I'm kidding. It will absolutely shoot off the thing. All right. Now, once you get it in there all the way like that, guys, I'm going to let it go gently so you can see the whole mechanism. There you go. And that's the whole mechanism installed. So let me raise this up here a little closer. So the springs you could theoretically lose in a dynamite are the short one up here, this spring here. Underneath there, you know there was a spring that controls this advancing mechanism. You've got a tiny spring there, and you got a trigger spring right here. So just remember when you're doing this, if you're careful, you shouldn't have to mess with any of those springs. You've got to be careful though. All right, here's the nerve-wracking part. We got to get inside this, all right? In order to do that, we're going to remove it from the actual case. To do that, this is under a ton of pressure, guys. So what you want to do is you want to push in as you're lifting, but you got to kind of hold all this together, otherwise, boom. So here we go. We're going to go real slow. Guys, I'm going to try. I can't not cover it because of the way I have to hold it, but I'm going to show you what I do. So you'll see what I'm doing. I'm holding my fingers over all of the spring mechanisms there. You see that? All right. And then the goal is we're going to compress and lift at the same time, just like that, and off, just like that. Now, very gently let go of your springs, and everything should stay in place. There you go. See what I did there? So everything stayed in place where it should be, and that's what we wanted. All right. Now we're going to remove this. What we're going to do is pull off this little valve, and what we need to access is right inside there. Now, you guys have seen me do this before. Electrician's pliers. It's what these things are called. You put them in the little notch, and you spin the little notch in order to open it. And these can be a little bit tight, guys. Of course, they're tight. They're heavy pressure. But once you get them in the hole there, just open up the valve, just like that. All right. Cracking open the valve. My hands are all slippery now. Yeah, I tell you, it's a little nerve-wracking doing this. Mod is considerably more, what's the word I'm looking for? Intense than the mod on the other one. So, yeah. All right. So what we're going to pull out is that little valve block right there. All right. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can use, if you've got an Allen key that'll fit down it, I usually use a little screwdriver, which is strangely missing off my table right now. Oh, you know what? I know where it is. Be right back. All right, guys. So what this is a little socket extension, a little micro socket extension. They just happen to be the exact length and like you need to get down there. And then you can use a little, I've got a little hammer I use, or sometimes just a little screwdriver. Tap it out, and the valve will pop right out the back side. All right, at this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to reassemble the valve assembly. And I hope, guys, this is a little easier to see than the last video. I know this is a complex, and you can see how one mistake in there and you could have a serious problem. So I'm trying to teach you the way to do this. It'll be the easiest. If you do dynamite it, don't worry. That's not the end of the world. It can be put back together as long as you don't lose the springs. I haven't found a rebuild kit for just the springs yet. So if I ever do, I'll let you guys know. All right, so now if you were going to replace the valve pin, and that's the pin down in there, this would be the point you would do that. And the easiest way to do that, that's got an adhesive on it, guys, and it's really, really, really nasty. If you heat this up with a heat gun, you can actually get it out real easy. But we're not actually going to do that for this because I want to test it stock with nothing but this mod and that pin. So here we go. All right, so we're going to put that back together. Now, once again, guys, this hole right here, let me point it out here, has got to hit that and seat down onto it, okay? This pin will be down on this pin. But as you can see, it requires a great deal of pressure to do it, and I do not want to knock any of my stuff off. You see the little trigger pin right there? I want to be super careful here, guys. And once you've got it right there, guys, it'll kind of snap down into place. All right. Once you got it there, set it down gently, back away from it, and go, woohoo, it's installed. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put the ring back in, and this is actually for the barrel. Guys, you cannot install this wrong. Let me show you what happens. If you try to put this barrel receiver in backwards, it won't seat correctly. See how it just flops around? But if you put it in the right way, it'll actually kind of lock into place, just like that. All right? From that point, you can actually reinsert your barrel receiver, although it really doesn't matter because until we get the bottom half on, it won't make a difference. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to reassemble our top. Guys, just like we did before, put it on as gently as you took it off, okay? All right, so we're going to put this on. And guys, this pin right here is your main center pin. You want to be careful to make sure you line up. All right, once that's on, sandwich it down. You see how that slid right into place on everything? And then you're going to redo your screws. Be right back. Now, once you've got it all back on here, thank goodness, right? We're going to go ahead and retighten up our screws again. And there's no real particular order you have to do this in, guys. I typically use a kind of a zigzag pattern. Not that it really matters because, you know, this is aluminum and it's going to seat down pretty well anyway. So, all right. But the key is you do want to get every little screw. Don't miss one, for heaven's sake. Don't miss a screw. All right. That on there, that on there. So I'm kind of glad I was able to show you guys what it does if you should accidentally happen to dynamite it. It's not the end of the world, guys. It's really, really not. I know it feels like it, and when all those pieces go flying, you know, it's kind of like, what was it, in a Christmas Story when he was changing the tire with his dad. Remember that? And all of the lug nuts went flying into the air and just vaporized. It's that feeling. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. If you can't find the screws and stuff, I am looking for rebuild kits on these things, and I'll let you know if I find them. And surely they've got to be out there. We cannot be the first people that have ever had to rebuild one of these. So, all right, I'm just verifying that we have hit all screws. There's one. And once you get it to this point, you guys can go ahead and verify that your trigger still works. As you can see, the part from the bottom comes up like it's supposed to. The advance is working like it's supposed to. And we are ready to reassemble this into the weapon. So we're going to set our left side down, and we're going to set this into place. Now, this is where you want to put in your barrel. And remember, your spring is what holds that in right there. All right, so once you get it into place, slide her on down. And that's not super tight, guys. It's not as bad as the other springs for sure. All right, guys, so now we have got this all reassembled and ready to rock and roll. Now, let's take a look at our little pin, the extreme pin. So what we have to do, guys, is we're going to change out that stock pin that's inside this little receiver right here. And it's actually pretty easy to do this. What you do is you take a pin or a punch. In this case, I'm just going to use a nail because I'm sure that's what a lot of you guys out there are probably going to use if you do this. And we're going to take it and we're going to tap out that punch. And these should not be in here that tight, guys. Normally they are not, so let's find out. All right, right there. And my little surface is a little slippery for this. I use this for the mods on the HTP 50, so there we go. And out it comes. And we're just going to go right on through with it. All right, now, once you get the pin out to about this point, guys, I've noticed that you can actually do your change out here. You don't have to pull it all the way out. So you can leave that pin kind of in there, that little tiny bit. That's not going to hurt a thing. All right, here you've got a spring. And here is the little guy that we're going to change right here. And what you want to do is push him through the front. And you can see that goes right through. And you can use your nail or whatever you've got, shove him on through the front. And that is the pin that we're changing. Now, to compare it to the new one, this is the new pin. And you can see how tiny that little spike is. Look at them compared to each other, guys. Do you see the difference? That's going to put a smaller hole and constrict the airflow, which is what we were shooting for. All right, we're going to put this back through here, push it into place. And on this side, we're going to run this pin right through there. Get our spring on. And get lined up. There we go. And we're going to tap our pin right back through that hole. There we go. As you can see, that went right in there, guys. Look at that. And now we've got the tiny pin. Guys, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. And I have been dying to try this with, you know, I love how this thing fires after that last mod. But it would just blow all that air out without having to buy that $50 kit. Let's go ahead and I tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to take this thing out here real quick on the range. I'm not going to chrono this because we know that you're going to get 20 plus joules out of it, but I do want to see how it works. Here we go. Okay, guys, so you remember how we're going to do this. This is our normal range. We're going to fire from our standard distance here. We're going to go ahead and take our brand new, freshly upgraded TR50. We're going to get ourselves a C02 cartridge. Now, this is not Pell Gun Oil, guys. This is T4E marker oil. It's actually designed for these. I don't know that it's any better, but I know that it seems to be a lot less messy. They do say that it is just as good at protecting the seals, which is what it's all about. So, now, granted, on these and on the HTP50, you're not going to leave these things compressed anyway for any period of time. You're going to hit them when you need them. So, all right, slide that thing in there. And we're going to put our cap on. Now, we are not going to puncture yet. Remember, guys, when you tighten this on, you only have to go till it stops. You don't have to over-tighten it, just like that. If you over-tighten this, that's when you end up having to have that Allen key to pull it off, and that's no fun. So, all right, take our ammunition. We're going to slide in our ammo. Let's see what we get out of this one here. So we're going to charge it up. And I'm actually just giving it a little tap, guys, because I want to see how hard we actually have to hit it with that smaller pen. Okay, that was a little lighter, not too bad. All right, so we're going to try to fire from the breech side here. And what we're listening for is that quick release. If it does that, we know that this is not going to solve the problem. Everybody hear that? Everybody hear it? See that? See that? Everybody hear that? That is what this does when you do not have that valve block, that actual insert inside the chamber itself there. So, guys, I'm going to call this a no-go for replacing just that and removing the valve block out of this thing. Now, what I am curious to see is what it does on the HTP50. Let's try it. Be right back. Okay, guys, so I want to get a baseline for this. So this is a modified HTP50, okay? And what we've got is this is the factory puncher thingy that comes with it, okay? This is the factory pressure valve. So what I want to do is I want to get a baseline for how many shots we're going to get out of a CO2 cartridge using this one. Drop a gun oil. All right. And we already know, guys, that's going to be, on average, probably anywhere from 8 to 10 shots. All right. We're going to give it a shot, though. So here we go. As you can see, we're punctured. Don't forget how loud this is, guys. So, all right. I'm going to try to keep the breech in frame. And we're going to fire the 5 rounds that I've got loaded in here. Now, guys, a lot of people have been asking me why I load 5 rounds in here instead of 6. Because with the mod, you get about 10 shots. So it's a nice even number. All right, so let's go ahead and fire these. Okay, that's 5 shots, as you can see. All right, we're going to slide this forward, and let's load in 5 more. Yeah, I want a good baseline on this because obviously on the TR50, the valve still doesn't have enough power to close, and that's a problem. You heard it. It sounds like a machine gun when it goes off. All right, we got 5 more rounds in here. Let me back on up. iPro on. Here we go. And that should be about it. Let's find out. Look at that. 10 shots almost to the number, dude. And you can hear that 10th one start to fall off in velocity. All right, now, that's with this one. Now, let's test this with the other piercer that's there. And, guys, you know, something I noticed, and if you look at this, that's the hole that the factory one just punched. That's the hole that the new one just punched. I don't know about you guys. I don't see a huge difference. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of a difference, but I just don't see a major difference there. And if there's not a major difference, that explains why that TR50 just went. So let's go ahead. We're going to put a new CO2 cartridge in, and we're going to test 5 more rounds using the new pin that we've got here. All right, and let's load in 5 more balls. Yeah, I like to test nice and even, so we got to get a good baseline. You know what I'm saying? All right. If we get more than 10 shots out of this, then I'm going to believe that this has a purpose. We'll find out. All right, we're going to puncture. Now, that's our new one, okay? Now, one thing I did notice, and this may just be me, normally when I puncture this, it would, like, instantly pop this out. This time it kind of went, you heard that. So let's see if that makes a difference. All right, we're going to fire the first 5. All right. We're going to slide this up. We're going to load in our next 5. There we go. Locked in place, backing up. iPro on. Here we go. Guys, ready? That's the exact same amount. Honestly, guys, you know what? Let's go back in the office. Here we go. You know, guys, you've heard me say 1,000 times, with this channel, you're going to get the fleas with the dog. And just for those people that are wondering, just in case this particular pen was designed for the 50 and not the, or the HDP 50 and not the TR50, or maybe the HDR 68, guys, it's written on the box. All 4 weapons are here for this pen. I honestly don't know what it's supposed to do. You know, I understand the concept. I see what it's supposed to do by putting in a smaller hole, being an easier puncture, whatever. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really solve the HDR problem. So, yeah, for me, it's kind of a no-go. I mean, if you want to blow $30 and throw it in there and play with it yourself, go right ahead. But, and I'll toss a link down there to Home Defense 24. By the way, the rest of their products are wonderful. Just saying. This one, I just can't really see a use for it. I mean, I may be missing something, but you guys know I've modded a ton of these things. So, hey, there it is. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic weekend. I told you videos are coming close. Have a good night. Bye-bye.